Okay. First of all, I would like to present here a lot of statistics. I apologize for those who hate statistics. It will be heavy statistics, and I will promise you to simplify as soon as I can. Let me move on to briefly theoretical background. I would like to confess here that I was inspired by BII Model, which was proposed by Veronica Benet Martinez and her colleagues. The BII Model suggested that individuals organize their bicultural identities. This model contains two dimensions. The first one is cultural dimension, is the extent to which the big culture perceive their mainstream and ethnic cultural identities as a compatible and integrated versus oppositional or difficult to integrate. And the second one, the extent to which the big culture make a distance or a separation between the two identities. In the one hand, on the other hand, they make a blendedness between these two identities. Since the BII focuses on bicultural perception of managing dual cultural identities, we would like to argue that the conceptualization and measurement of the BII would be expanded. It would be expanded in order to account for more complex identity configuration. Thus, we launched our new model called MII Model in a cross-cultural psychology conference in South Africa 2 years ago. And now I would like to present here initial findings from the data, and the goal of this study, first of all, I would like to emphasize, is to examine the proposed model. And the second goal, the MII model will be examined among Arab Christian living in Israel as an ethno-racial group characterized by a complex identity. The uniqueness of our study is to show a better understanding how group will contribute to the theory, how group will contribute to the components of the theory, and accordingly how the theory will contribute to understanding the difficulties and complexities of Arab Christian identities. How we'll do that? First of all, we have three different identities. The ethno-religious identity, Christian, the national identity, Arab, and the civic identity. Since the BII deals with two identities, we create here identity pairs. The first one is Christian Arab, AI, or CA. The second one is Christian Israeli, and the third one is Arab Israeli. Where is the third one? No? This is the third one. Okay. I would like to emphasize here that this is the first time in the Arab identity research in which we will shed a light on the correlation, on the interaction between the different components of the identity, especially in the Christian identity. Unlike the Arab identity research, which main focus was on identity prominence and identity definition. So let us have a look about the sample. This is just an initial sample, it's a partial sample. We are still collecting data from students, population. As you see here, we have 2,000 Arab Christian living in Israel. Data was collected from different villages and towns, the recurrent culture centers. It's very difficult to do this. We're still doing, the collecting data is still in progress. Let's moving on also to the questionnaires to have a look about the questionnaire. I took Veronica Benet Martinez questionnaire about the BII integration. It contains 12 items translated to Arabic. I will give you an example how would you ask about this. For harmony, for example, we said, how do you feel conflicted about being Arab and Christian? For the conflict, as you see here, I feel conflicted between Christian and Arab ways of thinking, of doing things, blendedness. I don't blend my Arab and Christian, and I keep Arab Christian separated as a separation. We triplicate these 12 items to the identity pairs. The Arab identity pair, the Christian identity pair, and the Arab-Israeli pair. Now, I would like to move on to, I'll give you also a picture about another variables. We took the discrimination variable. We took two levels, the individual levels and the group level, with two groups, two majority groups, the Arab Muslims and the Jews. We took a social contact with two groups, the Arab Muslims and the Jews. We took a well-being, and finally we took two variables, which I call them the variables which we can examine the penetration of the group boundaries. The immigration, we conduct a immigration questionnaire, and a mixed marriage. And there is other questionnaires in the data. Let's move on to the selecting findings. First of all, I would like to give you a map about the variables. These are the MII variables. As you see here, every pair have two scores. The IC, Israeli Christian, is harmony and blendedness, as you see here. The AC, the same thing, is harmony and blendedness. And the IA, Israeli Arab, as you see here, three pairs, and every pair have two scores. I would like to emphasize here, and when I talk about integration, I mean that is of high harmony and high blendedness. And the second thing which I want to emphasize here, that when I talk about harmony, the mirror image of harmony is a conflict. If I talk about high harmony here, for example, or high harmony here, for example, it means a less conflict in these pairs of identity. Let's move to the data. First of all, I would like to show you that the means here in the last column, that the means is very high in Arab Christian identities, more than the means in the Christian Israeli or Arab Israeli integration. This is a statistical significant. The second thing which I would like to show, that the two components of the identity are very, very highly correlated. For example, look at this blue circles, and this one. It means that the harmony, when a person feels harmony between the two identities, they will also blend between the two identities. This high correlation 0.5 and 0.7, 0.46, it's a high correlation and highly significant. The last one, which a very interesting thing to show, is the red cycles. Look at the red cycles here. When a person feels harmony between his Arab and Christian identity, they feel less blendedness. Less blendedness between what? Between Israeli and Christian. This is the 4 one. This is the 4 Israeli Christian. It means when a person harmonizes the two identities, they feel they separate the Israeli and Christian identities. Next. Now we'll move to another variable which Gabby likes a lot. This is social contact. The social contact with two groups, with Muslims and Jews. As expected, it's very clear findings here. When Arab Christian harmony, or if we talk about the two categories, when Arab Christian integration is high, social contact with Muslim is also high. And the opposite is right. The second thing, when we took this one, when Israeli and Christian integration is high, the social contact with Jews is high. But I would like to show you this root cycles. It's a very interesting thing. If somebody, a Christian person who harmonize between Israeli and Christian, they feel less contact with Muslims and more contact with Jews. It's a negative correlation. It means that when a person integrates two identities, the social contact go side by side with the integration. The last one, it's a very interesting and it's need more interpretation from me in my doctoral dissertation about the Israeli-Arab identities. As you see here, the Israeli-Arab identities don't correlate with social contact with Muslims. There is no correlation. What does it mean? When a person feel or experience a good contact with Jews, his Israeli and Arab identities are going together, are harmonized, are integrated. I will shed a light about this Arab-Israeli identities in the conclusion. Next, cultural identification. We take a single item and we ask about the identification with Israeli culture, Arab culture, and Christian culture. As you see here, look at this column. This is high identification with the Israeli culture. As you see, negative correlation with Israeli and Christian culture, Arab-Israeli culture, sorry. And the high correlation with Israeli Christian culture. Harmony, integration. It means when I identify with Israeli culture, I feel harmonized between the two identities. On the other hand, when we took this one, that the Arab culture identification is very highly correlated with Arab Christian integration and is negatively correlated with Israeli Christian correlation. And the last one, as you see here, the Christian culture. The Christian culture is correlated only with Israeli Christian integration. And this is the strong correlation. This is also not strong enough. It's 1.3 with the Israeli-Arab harmony just alone. Well-being. As was expected, when a well-being is good, identities goes together in a good way. So have a look, please, about one of the findings here. You see here a strong correlation between well-being and Israeli and Arab harmony. In other words, it's reasonable to conclude that if Israeli-Arab conflict will be solved, maybe real life will be more comfortable or more easier. Second one, which will move now to profiles, identity profiles. This is the main assumption of my doctoral dissertation, which I would like to make identity profiles. This is the first time we make identity profiles, especially here in Arab Christian identity. First of all, I will suggest a strategy for analyzing. The strategy is how to identify the clusters. We conduct very complicated statistical technique which is called two steps clusters, and then the other steps is discriminant analysis by MII variable. I don't want to explain these findings, but I will have to move directly to the output of this statistical analysis. First of all, the first step, we want to diagnose the clusters. How many clusters would you have? The clusters are based on the MII variable. For example, as you see here, AC, blendness and harmony, AC, that second thing. As you see here, we have 4 clusters. The first one is 22% of all the sample, and the second 38, the third, the fourth, etc. as you see here. Let us go take this cluster and move to another analysis. As you see here, the table here is not friendly. I'll try to simplify this table. This is the output of discriminant analysis. I liked it. But I want to see here that this discriminant analysis gives us 3 functions. The first one here, the second one is here, and the third one is here. What characterizes the first function? The first function is characterized by Israeli and Christian blendedness and Israeli and Christian harmony. This is the first function. The second one is the AC harmony and AC blendedness and IA harmony. And the third one is IA, Arab-Israeli separation, I call them. Please have a look about the first one, the first cluster here. I called in the first profile. In this profile, we have participants who are highly in this function. It means they are highly integrated the Arab and Christian identities. The second one, it's a very ambiguous. It's not high in this one, not high here, and not high in the third function. The third profile, as you see here, it's very high here. It means they are highly integrated the Israeli and Christian identities. The fourth one, the fourth cluster, is the opposite, or the mirror image of the cluster 3 is highly conflicted the Israeli and Christian identities. So this is the data, and I will want to show you more deeper data. And let us move to another analysis which gives us another picture of the clusters, but I will do it very quickly. As you see here, these are the MI variables, these are the clusters. As you see here, the cluster is, I called it cluster 1 in order to avoid statistics. I called it the participants are peaceful. Why peaceful? Because they are high in all the identity pairs. The second cluster, I called it ambivalent. Why ambivalent? Because they are medium here in all the identity pairs. If you look at the third one, I call them pro-Israelis. Why pro-Israel? Because they are low in Arab-Christian integration and high in Israeli-Christian integration and low in the others. Look at the fourth ones, I call them pro-Arabs. They are high in Arab-Christian integration and low of the others. This is another picture about the clusters, just like similar to the previous slide. Let's move on to more deep analysis. You get tired? Okay. Okay, I would like to show you one profile and to focus on one profile. And this is profile I called it a pro-Israeli profile. And I'd like to show the participants who belong this profile, how do they behave in other variables. As you look here, we see the pro-Israeli are high in mixed marriage with Jews. There are low social contact with Muslims, and they feel low individual discrimination by Jews. This is one sample, one kind of our analysis, which gives us the way to explain more complex identity configuration, such as the Arab Christians living in Israel. The last part of my presentation is to take more to take more sociological variables. First of all, a lot of us talk about the immigration among the Arab Christian in Israel, and we ask about the immigration in our questionnaires, and a lot of opinions tell us that the Christians want to immigrate or tend to immigrate from Israel to other countries, but our data tell us a different story. Look at all the sample. As you see here, the question was, I seriously intend to immigrate. And we took this question from point 1 to point 3, and we had to choose between them. As you see here, this is the side of disagreement. As you see here, 68% of the sample disagree with immigration. On the other hand, we see here almost 30 of the sample agree in different ways to immigration. The second one, about the mixed marriage. As you see here, also about the preference of mixed marriage between the Arab Christians and the two majority groups. I think that we have the same picture here. 63 disagree and 34 agree. As you see here, the marriage with Jews, marriage with Muslims.
I really puzzled why you almost disregard Palestinian identity. I mean, this is a study in which clearly
Just a minute. Okay.
you disregard. I mean, it's built in disregard of Palestinian identity. You measure nationality by Arabness, not by Palestinian identity. And then you show that Palestinian identity is marginal, 3-4%, something like that, when you put it against religion. You measure it at the same place. Of course, it cannot compete with religion. So I think there is a built-in bias here in the study of trying to subordinate Palestinian identity. When I ask in my studies to choose between various identities, I don't give them the religious identity. I give them different ethnic or civic. And then you can see that they choose Palestinian identity, large numbers. And then I ask them, does Palestinian identity well describe, say, Arabs in Israel? The majority say yes, it does describe Palestinian identity, and so forth. So I think you are confusing here national identity by using Arab. Arab is mostly perceived by Arabs and by Jews as cultural, linguistic, and not national.